The Calgary Flames find themselves once again as the team whose name is being thrown around the NHL trade rumor mill the most, with a handful of tradable players seeing the most action. The internet is a scary place, but sometimes it's a goldmine for trade proposals, and they hint that a huge move could be coming. We're going to break down a bunch of trade proposals in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and thank you guys so much for 3,000 subscribers. It's crazy that we've already reached that milestone in less than a year, but I can't thank you guys enough. Can't wait to see what is next. But let's break down these trade proposals a little bit more fun, a little bit different, because it's more so just kind of from some, I guess, random people on the internet, some more, I guess, hockey sources we can say, but it is a very interesting to break down, and I would love to see your guys' opinions on any of these trade proposals, if they can be tweaked a little bit, or if the Flames should pull the trigger on any of them. But let's start with just a little bit of an introduction, I suppose, here from Veer on Twitter. So Veer says the Flames need to part ways with a few forwards this season. Guys like Blake Coleman, Kuzmenko, Backlund, and maybe even Kadri. This franchise needs to give it a rest already. Clinging on to any hope of making the playoffs is just sad at this point. Team can't even score. And that is just a brutally blunt way to put it, but in a lot of ways, that kind of is how it is. I know the Flames have been hanging on, 1 point back of playoff spot, or they're in a playoff spot at certain times, but it's true. The Flames aren't scoring. The 25-game streak of 3 or less goals in regulation is a very scary. A team that's going to win the cup is never going to have a streak like that, so it is interesting. So let's get into some of these trade proposals here, and we'll start with the one kind of from the thumbnail involving the Rangers. So it comes from Stu on Twitter. He says, there's been rumors of the Leafs having interest in a Nazem Kadri reunion from the Flames. I wonder if the Rangers would have any interest in getting his services. Rangers trade rumored players, Kreider and Zibanejad, and then for the Flames, Kadri. So what's very interesting to note, and why he's making this comparison, he's not saying, yeah, Kreider and Zibanejad for Nazem Kadri. And look, things are already changing in Ranger land. They traded away Jacob Trouba. There's rumors that maybe Fox might be on the way out and some of those other forwards. But guys like Kreider and Zibanejad, it's because of their contracts. Kreider on the 6.5 a UFA for a couple more years, and then Zibanejad $8.5 million all the way till 2029. So an even more expensive and longer term contract than Kadri. Obviously, he's younger and he scores a bit more productive, a bit of a better player. But it's very interesting to note that I don't think it'd be a 1-for-1 in any of these scenarios, but it's very interesting to see, could the Flames want any of these guys? My personal opinion is that why would the Flames want either of those guys with where they're at in their so-called rebuild? And why would the Rangers really want Kadri? I know they would in terms of, he has that playoff pedigree. But otherwise, to make cap work, I think they'd be giving up a lot for Kadri because they're in a bit of a cap crunch now. Well, I guess now that Trouba's out, it's a little bit better, but still, it's interesting all over. Let me know if you can mock up a trade involving the Rangers and the Flames down below. Let's get into the next one here. So this one comes from Brandon. He says, hey, Flames fans, what do you think of this trade, and do you think the Minnesota Wild would do this trade? Nazem Kadri and the 2025 Devils first-round pick going to Minnesota for Marco Rossi and any short-term cap dumps to make the cap work. Very, very interesting here. I don't know. Honestly, I try to do this as non-biased as possible. I don't know if that's enough for Minnesota to want to do this, especially depending on what that cap dump would be. But I don't know, Rossi's, a really good player. He honestly is. He's already solidified himself as a very good center. And giving up Kadri for what? What do you get out of that? I don't think Minnesota's going to hang on to him for the whole rest of his contract, depending on, there's so many factors here. There's so many potentials, so many hypotheticals that we could get into. But it's interesting for me. I think, would I do this trade? Probably, but again, it totally depends on what that cap situation kind of extra piece would be. I would obviously hope it means something better for the Flames, but a first round pick and Kadri for Rossi plus, let's say, a second round pick or a really good prospect or something, I could be enticed. Let's put it that way. But let's get into the next one here. We've seen a couple Kadri ones. Let's get into a new player and talk about Kuzmenko. So this one comes from Papa Mitch, and he says the Flames would receive Dylan Cozens because that one has been spiraling like like crazy in the trade rumor mill. And Buffalo would get New Jersey's 2025 first round pick. There it is once again. Sammy Honzek and Andrei Kuzmenko at 50% retain. I'd hate to trade Honzek, but you have to give value to get value. And I don't think I'd do this one. Honestly, I know Dylan Cozens still has potential. I know that he's sought after. He's got size. He's still young kind of thing, but that is a lot to give up for a very disappointing player so far in his career with the Buffalo Sabres. And I know it seems like players always get better once they leave Buffalo, and Cozens really does fit what we need, but giving up a first, Honzek, and Kuzmenko, that's a lot. I feel like we could get Kuzmenko, more for Kuzmenko in a different trade kind of thing. So I think throwing him in there is too much. Giving up Honzek, I know that's a lot. Honzek for Cozens already is a tough 1-for-1 for me. With a first as well. I know I'm super biased towards the Flames, but for this one personally, I would not take that trade. But again, I'd love to know what you guys think down below. Let's get into another player here and talk about the man who will probably be the rest of these ones. And it is Rasmus Andersson. His name has been going like crazy in the rumor mill. So the Canucks need to put all their chips in to get the big fish in Rasmus Andersson. And this tweet comes from Matthew's hairline. What a flattering picture of AM34 that is. Andersson, he is the best available D-man, and if he hits the trade block, give the Flames both our first and second round picks this year and Höglander while tossing in Kirill Kurdiavstev for good measures, LOL. No idea how to pronounce that one. That's going to be the new Antetokounmpo, when everyone couldn't pronounce his name. But this is a very interesting one. So the Canucks would give the Flames their first and second round picks, plus Höglander, which at this point, who wants Höglander? He's past that point of does he still have tons of potential sort of thing. Still a good player. In no means am I hating on him. I'm just saying he's not the esteemed prize you'd want back for Andersson. And then the last guy is apparently a good prospect. I really didn't do enough research on him, clearly, as I don't even know how to pronounce his name. But this one is very interesting. Would you give up a trade package like that for Rasmus Andersson? Look, the last time the Flames traded away a Swede to Vancouver, we got a huge package back. This is a somewhat similar package, and I'm not hating it. Would I want more for Andersson? Of course. Would I like to test the market for Andersson first? Of course. But that, hearing a first and a second, isn't too bad. A younger NHL player, not too bad. And another guy in there, why not? I wouldn't hate it at all. Let's get into the final one, and one about Andersson again. So this was actually a retweet. So Rasputin here said, I think this is fair for the Flames, but it was an original tweet by Senzi Jones. He says, I love Greig, but we need this more than anything. Hashtag GoSensGo, hashtag Flames. So here is the trade. Calgary would get Ridley, Greig, David Perron, a 2025 first and a 2025 third round pick, while Ottawa would get Rasmus Andersson. And this is probably the most fair trade we've seen in this video, the most fair trade proposal. Is it one I'd want to do, though? Again, I'd love to see what Andersson could go for, because Perron in this case is the cap dump. We don't want anything to do with David Perron at this point in his career. Great player over the years, but he is just not what he used to be and doesn't fit into the Flames' plans at all. Ridley Greig definitely does. He's got a lot of skill. He's got that feistiness. He can definitely take a slap shot into an empty net. I'd be happy with that. A 2025 first, boom, I'm in. Ottawa looks like they're not going to do very well again this season, so that would be a nice first to have. And a 2025 third, you'd assume that's coming for taking on Perron, but this one's interesting. If this was proposed, I'd have a hard time rejecting it if I were Conroy, but I'd still want to see if you could squeeze in a little bit more, try and get a little more something out of it. But again, let me know down below. I personally think this is the most fair one. I agree here with @FlankSwede here. But yeah, let me know. They're very interesting. And as always, feel free to pop down some trade proposals of your own down below. I know myself included, but as Flames fans, we always say, oh, we should trade this guy. We should trade this guy. We should trade this guy. We should put down some proposals as well. See what we could maybe get back for these alleged trades that could happen. Now let's get into tonight's game. It should be an exciting one. The Flames are wrapping up this mini road trip here as they head down to Tennessee to face the Nashville Predators, the lowly Nashville Predators. This one goes at 6 p.m. Calgary time, so it should be a very good one. Hopefully the Flames can get back on track. If they once again absolutely stink up the bed here on the road, then there is a huge thing going on here, a big underlying issue that is coming way too much to the forefront. Hopefully the Flames explode for 8 goals tonight. You know, they can end that silly drought going on, the consecutive games. They can end this stupid road losing streak and just keep things going. But one thing to take note of is that at the optional skate for the Flames in Nashville, Dustin Wolf was the only goaltender on the ice. So Derek Wills here suspects that Dan Vladar gets the start versus #Smashville. It has still not been confirmed at the time of recording, but it's 99% chance that Vladar is going in after Wolf had yet another disappointing start, which was really too bad to see his name slowly slipping out of the Calder conversation there, but hopefully he can get it going and getting back on track. Now let's get into the comment of the day to wrap this one up. Comes from yesterday's video, of course. That one just talking about, I guess, those streaks about the Flames. But this was an interesting comment here from Wade. So Wade said, I feel like Coleman should be called out more. He has been the most unnoticeable player on the ice, in my opinion. And that's honestly true. I think we all give Pickles a pass because he's a great guy, a great leader for this team, great locker room guy, and he does so much on the ice other than score. But this year, he's really not doing much of the scoring, and he doesn't quite have the same chip that he's played with in the past. He's still playing good, don't get me wrong. I know his line changes almost every single game, but still, there has to be more accountability put on guys who did all the scoring last year. We talked about it a bit in yesterday's video. Sharky, Coleman, Kadri, they need to get it going because they were so hot last year. And yeah, that's why Coleman is slowly starting to find his name in these trade rumors as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe like we saw here today and have a wonderful rest of your day.